Hi everyone. Hi Daniel. I
Hello.
am so excited. We're going to talk about your book. And one of the things that you said to me when we were sort of prepping for this was it's Pride. Like, let's make this like a gay event. And I am only too happy to make that happen. Before we jump into anything else, I think a great way to start is for you to just, give us your elevator pitch. Tell us what the book's about and, where the inspiration came from.
Of course. Well, thank you. First of all, Lev, thank you so much for doing this event with me. And thank you so much, RJ Julia, for having us. And so Indivisible is a story about a Mexican American teenager in New York City who is left to take care of for his young sister after their parents are taken away by immigration officials. So it is a book that is emotional. It is, it can make you cry at times. And it's also, I think, a book with many different facets to it. It's about, of course, immigration, but it is also about friendship and family and going after your dreams. And I am so excited. And I felt so lucky to be able to share this book with the world.
Before you actually joined us backstage, we were actually saying that it's such a great book because it touches on these sort of darker, heavier subjects in a way that doesn't feel dark or heavy. Like, I believe I said it's not an after school special book. It doesn't feel like an after school special book. It feels like someone's really lived experience. And it doesn't feel like it's not heavy handed in any way. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, in fact, that isn't heavy handed is the book's queerness. Obviously, there's this sort of central plot line involving the parents being taken away by ICE. And that storyline is the primary storyline. Mm-hmm. But also he's queer. Also, there is another queer, there's sort of a romance thing happening. And I know from having been in this business like a decade and the way publishing works and the way people think about things, there's always this like concern that identities that essentially aren't straight white people are add-ons. They're just they're like not they're not what publishers, editors, publicists, agents view as sort of a mainline book. And so the first thing I want to ask, and this is sort of a difficult question, I think, is did you ever feel like it was you were being told, or did you ever worry that queerness and immigration and being Mexican, like, did you ever feel, was there pushback even from yourself that it was too much? Did you ever worry that someone was going to tell you, no, one or the other?
100%. And I would say that was when I was plotting the book, because I am a pretty obsessive plotter. I like to, outline everything that's going to happen from start to finish. I like to have my full character sketches. And when it was time to look at Mateo, the protagonist, I originally envisioned him as a gay Mexican teen. The reason being that I am a gay Mexican, now adult, but I really, this story from the very start felt very personal, and I really wanted to show many pieces of myself on the page. And so when I thought of this character, he just came to my head fully formed as a queer character. And I asked myself that very question. I asked myself, is this a book about immigration or is it about being gay? Because it felt like it would be difficult to marry both, to have a book about both things. And I definitely told myself, I asked myself, is the queerness of the main character going to turn some readers off? Is it going to turn agents off or publishers? Are they, going to feel like it's too much? And ultimately, I did wonder. I wondered, would this book be more commercial if the main character was straight? And obviously that felt so wrong. Like, even if I had wanted to write Mateo as straight, it wouldn't have come out right, because that wouldn't have felt true to me. It wouldn't have felt genuine. And so I made that decision of writing a character that was as much as possible a reflection of myself and a reflection of my own identities. And so I wrote Mateo as gay. And what I found was that, you know, it wasn't necessarily something that became an obstacle for the story. It was something that made the character feel richer and feel more authentic. And one of the things that I, in fact, talked about with my agent when I first met him, when I first had a chance to sit down with him before we went on submission to publishers, before anything really happened, I said to him, I'm scared that someone's going to want to change Mateo, and that there will be an editor out there who will think, you know, who will confirm those fears that I had of, you know, this character would be more commercial if he was just straight. And my agent said to me, like, first of all, we will not submit to editors who, you know, would even dare to suggest that. But second of all, no, like, we will protect your story. We will protect your character. And that just made me feel so safe. My agent has always made me feel so safe expressing myself and expressing, you know, my stories the way that I want to tell them and my characters the way that I want to portray them. And I've, you know, despite those fears, despite those doubts, I have found like a very welcoming, for the most part, environment. And, you know, when it comes to publishers, I feel like no one has ever questioned Mateo's queerness at all. Mm-hmm. And that has felt very refreshing to me, because that has made me feel, again, like I can truly put myself on the page, and I can truly be honest. And that has been really, really wonderful.
And that there are other, like, you know, there are other Mexican gay kids out there who are getting to see this. That's very exciting to me too.
100%.
Yeah. So you were talking about your agents, about your editor, and I know you had a unique editorial journey, let's say. How many editors did you have by the end of it?
I had 3 editors.
And which one was your favorite?
Oh, all of them equally.
Almost got you, so close. Do you want to talk a little about that, just because it's like a unique experience?
Of course. Well, I should start by saying that, like, writing has always been my thing. It's always been something that I've loved doing. Ever since I was little, I would write my little short stories. I started writing full-length novels by the time I was a teenager, which were very bad, but did teach me a lot about writing. And I ultimately started to try to find an agent when I was in college. And I, you know, went through the whole process of querying different manuscripts, you know, all the rejections, the failure. And then with Indivisible, it all started happening very quickly. I finished writing the book, and I think like within 3 or 4 weeks, I had 4 different offers from agents.
Wow.
And that was just so shocking, because, as I said, from such a slow process and such a disheartening process at times that querying can be, it suddenly was all happening. And what, you know, something I like to say is that as writers, we're always looking for that place of arrival. Like, I think as querying writers, we think that finding an agent is it. And like, we've made it once we found an agent. And as it turns out, that's not where you're meant to go. That's not where your journey ends. Like, then you have to go on submission to publishers, and then you have to edit the book, and then you have to do marketing and publicity. And there's never really that moment of arrival, that moment when you're like done with a book. And what I found with my journey was that even when I felt like I had reached those milestones, like when I felt like, oh, we're finally done copy edits, we're finally have a final cover, like we're reaching all these milestones. And then I found myself having to do it all over again because I switched publishers. I opened my email one day to find, I originally signed with Disney, and I opened my email one day to find a headline that said, "Welcome to Little Brown Books for Young Readers," which was probably one of the most shocking emails I've ever received in my life. But what I will say too is that the ups and downs, the changing publishers, the multiple editors has made me, I think, more resilient. It has made me more patient. And I like to think that I take away a lot of important lessons from that journey that, you know, hopefully will make the process of publishing book 2 and book 3 and all the books to come a little bit easier.